Here's what $60 got you 3 years ago.
Word is that something big has happened in Santo Ileso. Real big. I barely recognize the place.
Here's what $70 got you 2 years ago.
Did I just do that?
Well, definitely with my assistance.
I did not just do that.
We did.
Now here's what $80 will get you this year. At this point, price isn't about quality. It's about what publishers think they can get away with. So are we really paying for better games or just more expensive ones? So where does this end? Probably with GTA 6 launching at $100. And honestly, that might be the only one that's worth it. Keep in mind, this is coming from an American perspective. Down under in Australia, $80 games are going to be 120 Australian dollars for them, which is insane, and just for the base game. The worst part out of all of this is how our digital copies, which have no box, no disc, just a download, cost the same as a physical copy. It didn't take long for the price to come crashing down on us. All it took was Nintendo to cross the line with Mario Kart of all things, and the industry is already following suit. But like really though, Mario Kart for $80 seems a bit much for it. 2 months later, Xbox announced their first $80 game with The Outer Worlds 2. Obsidian, the developers behind it, have always planned their games to be smaller in scope, like AA games. So yeah, if the graphics aren't ultra sharp, the animations are a little clunky, or the combat's not super deep, it's understandable. Now, I'm not going to be able to judge if it's worth the price until it's out. And before we blame the devs for the price tag, it's important to understand who really sets it. Developers never set the price of their games, it's always the publisher, and in this case, it's Microsoft. The real issue here is that this sets the stage for $80 becoming the new normal for all games, regardless of quality. And let's be honest, it's not a question of if we'll get games that don't deserve that price tag, it's when. Now sure, games are more expensive to make than ever, but does that mean they should cost more to play? Let's look at the obvious examples, Elden Ring and Baldur's Gate 3. Both are massive AAA projects priced accordingly and earned Game of the Year. In those cases, the value was clear. The problem is that not every game with a huge price tag delivers. Forspoken, Veilguard, Skull and Bones, all expensive, all flawed. Price doesn't always mean quality. Surely there's a reason for this, right? Devs always claim 2 reasons, and the first one always being inflation. Let's take a step back and see how much Mario Kart has costed since release when adjusting to inflation. Yeah, $50 in 2005 equals about $86 today, so $80 now is actually cheaper than $50 was back then. Is it justifiable? Not really, because yeah, your salary might have increased with inflation, but so did the cost of living. That means even though you're earning more, you actually have less disposable income to spend on things like games. Second, development costs. Call of Duty shows how costs exploded. Black Ops 3 in 2015 cost $450 million. By 2020, Cold War hit $700 million. That's a $250 million jump in 5 years. Where does that money go? A lot of it goes to their 17,000 employees, and each can cost up to $20K a month after benefits and overhead. Big teams mean big bills. Development times keep stretching too. In the 5-year gap between GTA 4 and GTA 5, Rockstar made 3 different games, 3 DLCs. Now, in the 13-year gap between GTA 5 and GTA 6, they made 1 game and 0 DLCs. Bad management pushes costs higher as well. Studios pivot mid-development, chase trends, waste time. Some teams built for single-player games get forced into live service models. Poor decisions mean delays, reworks, and wasted months. These mistakes add millions to budgets without making games better. Recently, an article on Veilguard's troubled development was published. Veilguard is a prime example of poor management. It was originally planned as a smaller, single-player experience, but in 2017, EA pushed BioWare to pivot and turn it into a multiplayer game because on paper, the majority of EA's profits come from their live service games. The problem? BioWare had never developed a live service game before. They were known for their rich single-player games and were forced into unfamiliar territory purely for corporate greed. When Anthem flopped in 2019, the studio pivoted back to a single-player focus, but without resetting the development timeline. That meant trying to build a completely different type of game on top of a foundation that wasn't designated for it, which resulted in what we got. Not every game lives up to its price tag. Sure, high prices might be unavoidable for some games, but do all games deserve them? Red Dead Redemption 2 cost $540 million, and they recouped their costs in just 2 days, earning $725 million. While studios like Activision can spend $700 million on a new Call of Duty and charges top dollar, even if it doesn't feel 7 times better than a title from a decade ago. That math doesn't always make sense. That's why rising prices sting. They don't always reflect the actual value. So how do you decide what's truly worth your money? Let's break this down. You buy a game, you play it, but how do you actually know what it's worth? Nintendo is infamous for rarely putting their games on sale. Mario Kart 8 released 11 years ago and still costs $60 years later. They treat games like Apple treats iPhones. Premium product, premium price, no discounts. They never drop their game's original price, even when they're old. And you know what? People still buy them. Because Mario, because Zelda. Compared to God of War from 2018, it's now $20 on PlayStation and $50 on Steam. So how do we measure value? This is a rough measurement of value, but try dollar an hour. You pay $60, get $60. That's fair. But this isn't the end-all be-all systematic value though. And like all art, everyone's taste is subjective. There are still things to take into account, like whether the game interests you, the gameplay, the visuals, the story. This is just one of those boxes you tick to see if a game's worth your time. But the most important thing is that you had fun playing them. But then there's another issue, microtransactions. Sure, if your game is free to play and they're cosmetics, it's fair game. Valorant, Fortnite, Rivals, League, though pricing them is another issue entirely and it's a whole video on its own. But adding them to a game you paid full price for, it's just outright disrespectful. Microtransactions started as a thing for just free-to-play games, especially mobile games or those Facebook games your mom plays. Because it brought in so much money, corpos just couldn't resist adding them to fully priced games. And why did they get away with it? Because people buy them. Maybe not you, but someone, somewhere. There's a bunch of little Timmies who just don't care. And the CEOs, they take million-dollar bonuses while also having the audacity to lay off game developers because the CEOs need a second yacht and a new Lamborghini. And this isn't just a game industry issue, it's a capitalism issue where everyone can get affected. Now, gamers notice this, they talk, they get mad. That's why Bungie's fallen off with Marathon, because if you don't respect your developers and let them make arts, then the games just aren't worth it. It's why nowadays you get such good games from AA companies like Expedition 33. Their leader was a developer from Ubisoft who left because he got bored of making a Ubisoft original and decided to venture out and make a game of the year with a team of junior developers. The key to making a successful game is having a vision. You don't need thousands of employees and a $500 million budget. A clear, creative direction can do more for a game than throwing money at it ever will. Gaming doesn't have to be this expensive, and indie games prove it. They prove you don't need $1 billion budget to make something worth playing. Games like Stardew Valley, Disco Elysium, Outer Wilds, and Hades are standouts. Meanwhile, big studios push $80 games packed with microtransactions and ads. The difference? One cares about making a game, the other one just cares about profits. Remember the saying, vote with your wallet, support the games that respect you, and skip the ones that don't. Be vocal about why. This isn't about price, it's about what you get back. A $30 to $50 game giving you 100 hours of fun is better than an $80 game that makes you not want to play it. Value isn't in the budget, it's in the experience. Gaming can't become a hobby just for people with deep wallets. We need to push back now, or it'll keep getting worse. Don't reward bad behavior, buy the games that deserve it, ignore the ones that don't. Let developers make the games they want. The more we do that, the more the industry thrives. We know this works because changes can happen. It's already happened. Though the damage is done, BioWare started going back to delivering single-player games. Sony lost so much with Concord and their live service dream that they pulled the plug on Naughty Dog's The Last of Us multiplayer game. The future doesn't have to be overpriced slop. It can just be good games, but only if we make it happen. Be smart with your money. Be loud about what you want. And most importantly, don't settle for less. Thanks for watching the video. I know this is a bit different than the content I normally make, and some of you guys are new. I'm trying to branch out a little bit, so if you like the video and you want to hear me yap about games and the economy, comment down below and subscribe. It really does help a ton with the algorithm. Other than that, guys, appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one.